Hello, and welcome back to the Whole Soul Podcast. This is the first video episode that I've done in a long time because earlier in the year and last year, I was showing up, I was recording podcasts, but I didn't have a structure or a flow, and it didn't feel good not to have a structure and flow. So I got to a point of burnout. And I started podcasting again a few weeks ago, getting really into the flow of it. I invested in a microphone, a setup, and I just created a safe, sacred space for myself to just drop into my heart every single week without feeling the pressure of being recorded or having a camera on me. But I realized that, that was my own block and ego getting in the way of expansion, of showing my face, because why am I hiding behind a microphone if I have the ability to reach more people through YouTube as well? So that's something that I've been sitting with, and I was like, all right, I have to work through this. I have to start showing up on camera. I don't have to, but it would be so beneficial for my growth, my confidence, and push me out of my comfort zone so I could actually show up on a screen and share my radiance, share my essence, share my way of being. So here we are, and welcome. This is my room, my childhood bedroom, I guess you would say, at my parents' house. And today I want to talk about how to reclaim your radiance, because there was a time in my life, especially in the last few years, where I hit a complete point of breakdown, of burnout, of feeling like I couldn't even show up for myself anymore because it felt like I fully let myself down. I was playing Division 1 volleyball in college, which was my dream up until that point. I was in the honors program in college, and on paper everything was going right. But as the years, or not the years, as the months went by of me being a student in university, I started feeling a deeper void, a deeper depth of disconnection. And in truth, it started to become very painful for my soul, for my mental health. My physical health started crumbling. My gut started having a lot of issues. There would not be a day really that would go by where I didn't feel really intense bloating or cramping or constipation. My skin was broken out in acne, and my mental health was so poor. I had very low self-worth. I was very insecure. And overall, my existence was very painful at that time. And there was this drive in me, there was this motivation of, well, I know that I'm capable of more. And maybe I didn't fully believe it at that time, but I would scroll on social media and look for opportunities. I saw women entrepreneurs, younger women entrepreneurs that were making a full-time living, traveling the world, connected with like-minded people. And there was something in me that felt super drawn to that and to them, their way of being, because they just felt so radiant, so open, so confident in who they were. And I recognized that that was exactly what I wanted in life that I wasn't experiencing during my time in college. So this episode is all about how to reclaim your radiance, because this is a little bit about my journey that I just shared and how I went from a complete dark hole of not believing in myself, of feeling very low self-worth and just unworthy of life in general, to really just reclaiming such a deep sense of self-love, self-acceptance, inner peace, which is allowing me to show up in this way and share this with you right now, because a past version of me would have never believed that I would be able to just sit down in front of a camera with a microphone, share my wisdom, my experiences, my knowledge that have helped me transcend from a very dark time in my life. So I woke up this morning and I journaled a little bit of well, how do you reclaim your radiance? What does that process look like? Because for me, it is a very subjective inner experience. It's not something that you do externally, like you don't do more in order to reclaim your radiance. It's more of an internal, subjective job. And it really took me years of inner work, of shifting my lifestyle, shifting my mindset, doing the subconscious reprogramming work and nervous system regulation to actually be able to hold more capacity within myself, to grow, to believe in myself. So, I'm going to share with you the first thing that really helped me reclaim my radiance. It was making the lifestyle decision to leave what I was doing at that time, which was being a student in college, living on campus, being a Division I volleyball player that had very intense practices and trainings and lifting sessions a few times a week, and practices were almost every single day. The food on campus was nutritionally void, and it was not nourishing my body in the slightest. And I say this because I grew up in a pretty nutritionally adept environment, because my mom was always into holistic health and natural healing and always prioritized getting the highest ingredients possible that she could. So that's what I grew up eating. So the contrast of going to school and eating food that was non-organic, that was filled with hormones, and just made with a lack of love, really impacted my body and my energy, my hormones, my gut health, and the way that I showed up in the world. So the first thing that I did was leave the life that I had dreamed of having, because in reality, it was not serving me. And I waited for months to, try to shift, try to see if things would change, but they didn't. And my health, my mental health, were getting worse and worse. So this was actually during COVID. I came home and I was in a complete state of sickness for about 3 to 4 months. I had to have my parents help me take care of myself. I was bedridden, I was sick, and it was not a fun journey. But it really did allow me to have the space and the opportunity, especially during lockdown, to really reflect on my decisions. How am I showing up in my life? How do I feel about myself? Who am I surrounding myself with? And are all of those things actually supportive of my growth, of my evolution, and what brings me the most joy and excitement in this life? Another step was shifting my nutrition, really coming back into the holistic, the organic, the whole food, love-based way of eating, which really did start to help heal my body. Because also, for context, during that time, I was strictly plant-based, vegetarian. I was eating a lot of highly processed foods, fake meats, fake cheeses, and overall, that is very disconnected from source. It's very disconnected from nature. It is highly processed, has a lot of chemicals in that food. So I really returned to eating in a whole food kind of way, which was very nourishing for me. And I really believe and I strongly know that food is information. And the way you eat, the way you relate to food has a big impact on your consciousness and the way that you show up in the world. Because, for example, if you're eating processed food all the time, if you're eating food that is filled with toxins and chemicals, that is information for your body. It is almost like a foreign attack on your body, and your body doesn't know what to do with that. So over time, eating in that way, that creates dis-ease within your body. Whereas when you start to eat whole foods, or if you eat a whole food organic diet, you know your farmer, you know where your meat and your food comes from. That food is actually so much more connected with nature. It is so much more connected to the source and treated with love. So that is also information for your body. And to go a little bit deeper into that, everything in this world, in this universe, is vibration. So the way that your food is treated, where it comes from, and the love that it is raised and given care with does have a strong impact on how your body actually receives and digests that food. Therefore, really shifting your genetic expression, your cellular function, therefore impacting the state of your consciousness. So, this process has also really helped me become way more in tune with my intuition, because I realized that when I was in college, when I was partying, when I was traveling for volleyball tournaments, that lifestyle and the nutrition was very toxic, and I felt blocked, I felt unclear, I felt energetically drained, and my mood swings were so big. But when I started shifting my lifestyle, my nutrition, I started to feel like myself again. So it's in that small shift of nutrition, and I know you probably see a lot of nutrition or wellness creators that talk about it all the time. So it can become redundant in your mind, and you might not think about it too much, but your nutrition and the way you eat, the way you relate to food, really does have a big impact on your consciousness, your way of being, and also how deeply you are connected to your intuition and your channel. I know that point one was a lot, which is your lifestyle and nutrition, but it really does have a huge impact on you, how you feel about yourself, how you relate to the world, and how you show up in your energy every single day. The next thing that really helps me reclaim my radiance, my magnetism, and a softening in my aura was self-love and self-acceptance and doing the inner work. This is so important because for most of my life, what I didn't realize at the time was that I was in a deep state of self-rejection, feeling low self-worth, really abandoning my needs and pleasing others because I thought that that's how I could be liked and accepted in the world. That's how I thought I had to show up to be a part of the crowd, to be friends with the people that were popular or more desirable to be around. But I was fully abandoning myself and hurting myself. This was especially true during high school and also leading into college. And although I wasn't fully conscious of the impact that it had on my mental health, my inner state, and my well-being, I was suffering behind closed doors, and it made me hate myself more. But this self-hate, this abandonment of self really created these walls around me that didn't allow me to show up as myself because I was afraid to be myself in fear of rejection. I built up walls where people couldn't actually connect with me because I was afraid to connect with myself, and my lack of confidence and self-worth was felt by the people around me. So of course, I couldn't really make the genuine connections and friendships in my life with people. It's because I wasn't comfortable in myself. And although there were a few close friends that I had so much social anxiety, and I felt like I couldn't really move forward or network with people my age because I felt so different and so self-isolated and so lonely in a room full of people. So really prioritizing deepening into self-love and self-acceptance and doing the inner work to reflect on, where do I still please people? Where am I abandoning myself? Where am I not honoring my needs? What do I need from myself that I've never really given myself the opportunity to give? That is a big one, because no amount of self-improvement that you ever do on yourself will make up for the lack of self-love and self-acceptance. That is a quote that I've heard several times through social media, and it's something that keeps coming up for me to reiterate to myself and to also reiterate through the content that I share, because there's so much talk about self-improvement and self-development and this go, go, go energy of I need to be better and I need to succeed. But what happened to actually slowing down and tuning into your inner being, your inner child? What does she or he need from you that, you're trying to fill the void of by doing more or improving yourself more? So, my love, really just take time for yourself. Know that rest is just productive as anything else that you do that is considered productive, and it is a balance and the harmony between the two. Because if you keep improving, if you keep trying to do better and better without the self-love and acceptance piece, you will burn out. You will not create sustainable growth. And we are all about sustainable and holistic transformation here. It's about the mind, the body, the spirit, the lifestyle, and the integration of all of it. And it doesn't matter what career you have, what life path you're on, this is applicable and so relevant to you, because you are such a unique individual with your own needs and your own path. And it's about really learning yourself, knowing thyself, to know what you need, what feels good to you, and how you want to show up in the world. And last but not least, what will help you reclaim your radiance is to follow your highest excitement without any insistence on the outcome. This could be on a micro level, this could be on a macro level, but whatever you do in life, make sure you create space to actually follow your curiosity. What do you feel drawn to? Because we can miss that it's actually our intuition that is speaking to us in those moments. That longing you have within yourself to do something or pursue something, the places you feel drawn to in the world or around where you live, the qualities you see in others that you maybe feel jealous of, but those are actually qualities that you have within yourself that are underdeveloped. Following your highest excitement without insistence on the outcome means that you follow the curiosity, you follow the breadcrumbs that will lead you to something very fulfilling that your soul actually needs, or lessons that your soul needs. Even if you do follow your highest excitement and you don't stick with that thing that you try forever, at least you learned something. And most likely, I really believe that you are going to take what you learned from that lesson to apply it to the rest of your soul's journey and your evolution and whatever else you go to or create in this life. And the no attachment to the outcome part is so important, because let me give you an example. If you are starting a business and you feel excited about it, but you are very attached to the outcome of, for example, making it $1 million business or hitting a certain goal by a certain point, and you're so attached to that, you lose the fire and the excitement because you become very hyper-focused on the end result. And then you lose your creative fire, your excitement for why you started it in the first place. So make sure you have something in your life that anchors you, that you do simply because you love it with no expectation on the outcome. And I also want to point out that this is something that can and will change over the course of your life. So also, don't get too attached to anything, because you are constantly changing, evolving, and growing. So I'm just going to reiterate some of the things that I shared about with you today in terms of reclaiming your radiance, how I did it, and what the process actually looks like. Number one is being very honest with yourself and your lifestyle. Number two is your nutrition, the way you relate to food and the way that you consume. Number three is about self-love, self-acceptance, and self-trust. And number four is about following your highest excitement without any insistence or attachment to the outcome. Last reminders for you today that I will share is that radiance is your natural state. It's not something that you have to strive for. It's not something that's outside of yourself. And if you do think it's outside of yourself, if you see it in somebody else and you try to be more like them, you are actually moving further away from the radiance that is innate within you. Reclaiming your radiance is about returning to your true nature, to your authentic truth, what feels true and real and exciting to you. And nobody can figure out that for you but you, because only you know what's inside. And you can be inspired by other people, but it's better to live in your own dharma and in your own path than to strive to be in the path of somebody else. So remember that there is nobody like you. There's not a single person that is exactly like you. And when you can start to realize that and know that your unique expression is a gift, you can start leaning into that and remember that your radiance, your authentic truth, your expression is your radiance. It is your natural state. And know that your ego will constantly try to keep you safe and comfortable with where you are. So, of course, change is scary, but sometimes you know when you have to make the change because you're feeling out of alignment, you're not feeling happy, you're feeling burnt out. And because you could be so addicted to being in that self-sabotage state, you will want to stay there because it's comfortable, because it's known. So getting out of that state can be uncomfortable. Shifting your lifestyle, your habits, your nutrition, and even getting out of your comfort zone to put yourself out in the world more and try new things can be really scary. But sometimes that's what you need to do for yourself and have that self-responsibility and self-accountability to put yourself out there in the world. When you can start doing that, putting yourself out there more and loving and accepting yourself, you will naturally start gravitating towards the opportunities in relationships will start gravitating towards you because you are starting to be and embody your authentic truth and expression. It's a way of being. And one last thing, I just want to remind you, it's something that I'm practicing every day. This isn't a one and done process. It is something that you have to keep devoting to and showing up for yourself every single day, which is such a beautiful thing because you are devoting to a life of more love, of more opportunity, of more expansion and more alignment. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me today. Go out today, get out of your comfort zone and reclaim your radiance because it is within you. I know that you feel it. It is here and it is not outside of you. So take one of these tips today, run with it, and implement it into your life. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you enjoyed this video, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify, or give it a like and a comment on YouTube. I love connecting with you guys, and it really just helps this show, this podcast, reach more people so we can help impact millions of women around the world one day. I love you so much and have a beautiful day.